I would like to share some thoughts I have about my homeless friend that is now dying. I don't want him to be forgotten, and one lesson that I've learned from meeting him is that all things are not as they appear. My wife actually was the one who initially met Scott, and it was in a convenience store. He was behind her as she was paying for something, and he was grasping at her back shoulder area, and because of how he was dressed and how he appeared, she thought he was just like what he was, a homeless dude that was bothering her. But he was having a heart attack, and what he was saying was call 911 underneath his breath. He couldn't speak, and he fell to the ground. And we later, my wife began to help him, called 911. But as the story progresses, we later learned that he had something like, boy, what was it, man? I can't remember exactly how it was, but there was something like he had died that year, which was 2018. He had died that year, flatline died. I think it was 3 or 4 times due to his heart. His heart was working on something like 17% capacity. He did not have medical care, and we later learned that he did not have medical care because of what he did as a very young man, and he was 55 or 56. But something he did in the military as a young man, he was booted out, and he lost some benefits, and one of them was this health care. And so anyway, Scott was taken to the hospital. We ended up getting to know him, and what we met was one of the most humble men that I've ever met in my life. This man was so humble and so meek, he wouldn't hurt a fly. And we took him down to Walmart one time to buy some new clothes because he needed it really bad at that time. And he was sopping wet. Like I said, he's been homeless for 3 years straight now, living on the streets. He carries a little fishing pole in his little backpack because he was fishing out of the little creek down here to get some of his food. All the police knew him because sometimes he would have little fires and stuff, and they'd have to come tell him to put his fire out. But all the police loved him, and all the police knew him, and actually helped him too. But we was in Walmart. He's sopping wet. We bought him some new clothes, and we went back to the shoe department, and the shoes that he had on, oh, that's right, the shoes that he had on at that time were something that he found because somebody stole the previous shoes that we bought him. And so the shoes that he had on was way too small. And he was walking all funny. He had blisters in his feet. The back heels were folded down. And we're walking through Walmart, and he's walking kind of crazy looking down to the shoe department. And I said, look, Scott, try these on so that we know that they fit you right. And he was like, oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I'm like, why not? And he goes, I've had these socks on for weeks, and what if they don't fit? Then somebody else would have to put their feet into them, and I couldn't just do that to somebody. That was the Scott that we knew. And right now, we just left the hospital, and right now he's not expected to live through the day. And we went over there, and I just don't want anybody, I want the world to know that things are not always as they appear. Some of these homeless people have hearts of gold. I had to talk him into putting these new pair of shoes on to make sure that they fit right, so that he's not walking with blisters again and something rubbing him wrong and everything. I had to talk him into it. And he quickly slid his foot into a shoe and made sure it worked right and got it out. But he just could not bring himself to dirty a pair of shoes that may not fit him and that somebody else would have to put their feet into. Isn't that amazing? That really profoundly affected me. That among other things. And one of the other things that really affected me through Scott's personality was his faith in God. Now, he had one of those times that he died, he claims that he died and went to hell. And Jesus had showed him hell and how horrible it was, and then took him to heaven and showed him what heaven was like. You know, it's another one of those stories of, you know, these people coming back from the dead, and a lot of them are so similar. And what he told me was so similar. And he said that every day, even as a homeless person living on the streets, living in between connexes, behind stores and stuff. And by the way, we helped him a lot. We got him a hotel many nights when it was really bad. We got him in touch with a pastor who bought a house, who turned the house into helping homeless people. We helped him in many ways, with food, clothing, prayer, and housing. So anyway, he died, and he's, oh, that's right. So he would witness to people, because he said that the Lord told him that when he was not his time to die, but that he was to come back and tell people what he saw. And he actually did this. He witnessed to me. He witnessed to my wife. He said he witnesses to at least one person a day. And that was almost 8 months ago that he told me this. So here I got Scott now, who taught me what faithfulness is, even in the most extreme conditions. And he was in my back seat, and we were taking him somewhere, and he just started singing, "What an awesome God we serve." Now mind you, he's homeless. He has no place to sleep, no way to cook food. He has the only medical he would get was when he went to the emergency room. They would have to attend to him. But because he was homeless, they got him in and out really quick. I know, because I was a part of that process, and I watched what I thought was him being cheated out of what I would consider good medical care. And I later learned that part of the problem was that he was in and out over 53 times, the local hospitals, due to his heart. And what would happen is the police and different people would find him just laying on the road, laying behind a convenience store. And that's what happened this time right here. He was in a Pizza Hut parking lot, laying there. And when they found him, his testicles were swollen like grapefruit. His penis was sucked up into his body. His legs were swollen. His hands were swollen. He was unconscious. That wasn't the first time, but this time he's not pulling through. So I just want to leave you with this. A lot of these homeless people are not, you can't judge a book by its cover. And some of them have hearts of gold. Some of them have faith in God. And this man, Scott, I'll just give you his first name. At one time, he was a very successful businessman. He told me his story. There is a construction business that's going strong today that bears his last name on it. But because of his health problems, and because I think there was a divorce in the family had rejected him. Maybe he did some things wrong. I don't know. But his construction business is thriving. And he ended up homeless. So, boy, I tell you, this doesn't even touch the story that I would really like to depart to you. But I'm going to end it here. Scott will probably not make it through this night right here. And we were in the hospital with him here. His visitation is very limited. I hope somebody out there takes something away from this. And I hope that it affects people's view of homeless people. I'll just leave it right there. Thank you.